If I were looking for a disc, I might come up to your house and you might have a spare one floating around, wouldn't you?
Well, I've been in this thing a long time, and through the years I seem to have collected over 15,000. It's the largest collection in the world. I'm going to have a museum where people can see the history of the sport.
You've been talking to the guy that probably knows more about Frisbee than anyone else. Lynn's got a special guest, a guy that I happen to know, so Lynn, let me give it to you.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Thank you, John. We'll be looking forward to the freestyle. Also in our show today, we're going to have distance throw, and with me right now is Van Miller, who is one of the experts in the distance. Van, we know that you're Fred's son. Let's not even get into that right now. Let's talk about distance. How many different kinds of throws are that you can use?
Okay, basically the two type of throws that we use in distance is the common backhand grip, where you grip it tightly in your hand and throw it like this, and the sidearm grip, which is a two-finger throw from the inside and throwing this way.
Do you use both?
I use both in golf, but for distance, I'll use the backhand. I can get my most power through that throw.
How long have you been throwing the Frisbee?
Since about 1977, right after I stopped playing football. I decided this was a much more fun and safer sport.
I assume the best throw is going to be the one that gets up in the wind and has the wind to its back.
Exactly. It's the wind really plays a big factor, especially here in the Rose Bowl, where the wind does swirl. But if someone can get it up there with a little bit of wind behind it, it's going to be gone.
And the world record is?
The world record is 499.99 feet. The North American record is 471 feet, which I own.
Okay, very good. We'll be watching distance and freestyle, but first let's go up to Fred Miller.
Lynn, we're just about set to get involved here in the distance. It's more than a demonstration. There are actually 4 competitors, and they're all going for the Rose Bowl record.
Okay, there's your first one, who we just met a few minutes ago, Mr. Frisbee. That's John Kirkland, rather. The first thrower is Joe Youngman. And Joe really snaps one out there. There's Joe. Doesn't have a shirt on, and you saw the mark he threw it out there with.
Joe has won either 3 or 4 of the national championships. And generally in the championships itself, all of the throwers throw in the same time period to equalize the win factor. They come down to a series of 5 finalists, and all 5 throw out of 5 different shoots to eliminate that factor.
Okay, third and final throw for Joe Youngman. That's going to be his best, I believe.
Joe put that one out there. You're looking probably now at about 360 feet.
Okay, and as we just said, world record 499. Van Miller holds the national record 471. I'm Lynn Shackelford, working with Van Miller's father, Fred Miller. And Joe decided to try the high one to see what the wind was like up there, and as you can see, it's going to fall far short of the others.
The wind comes into play so much here, Lynn, that you have to really cut into the wind. In a bowl situation like the Rose Bowl, it's difficult to know the best way to throw because of the rotation of the wind inside the Rose Bowl itself. However, when push comes to shove, the best way to throw it is to go ahead and get those line drive throws and cut the wind as best you can.
Okay, John Kirkland, Mr. Frisbee, the first throw for him. He uses a flat one.
Still appears to be about 10 feet behind Joe Youngman's long throw. Kirkland finished 3rd in the 1981 distance championships. And Youngman finished 4th. Van Miller finished 2nd. And, of course, the champion, Dave Dunipace.
John Kirkland, a real character in the world of Frisbee players. And he'll be the first to tell you he's a real character.
A very unusual individual, 34 years old, been a Frisbee competitor for the last 10, 15 years, been in every world championship. He uses the turnaround technique, which is basically the state of the art now. You seem to get more snap, and that is doing a great job. That thing won't come down.
I don't know if you saw it, but it really dipped in the wind and really got a good extra 10 to 15 yards.
We'll get a chance to see John Kirkland's throw here in slow motion, and you'll probably get a chance to see that full arm extension. He's taking the run up now, and you don't need a lot of speed, but control speed, the full turnaround, and now comes the snap. And you can see the full extension that he has. Now, you're allowed to cross the line, but you cannot cross the line until the release has been made.
Okay, next up is Van Miller. Van, obviously a student at Arizona State, and the national record holder. with some help from the wind, that'll carry out there as long as the others, but he's not going to get it.
In this kind of event where they're staggering the competitors, the wind may have some effect.
Okay, here's a different look. Tell me, Dad, a guy like Van grew up in a sports family like yours. How did he get into Frisbee?
Actually, he competed in football and swimming in high school, and then he found all by himself this new form, and he introduced me into the sport of Frisbee. So, you know, it's the son teaches the father. We've really had no new records now. The wind, again, is a factor for the record itself. That appears to be a good throw coming in now by old #1 son, but it's falling off right at the end, and the wind caught it.
Yeah, it looked like the wind was going to pick up and really help him when he got it up a little higher.
Now, Van's an example of most of the power throwers today. Complete weight training enthusiast, and a complete extension there at the snap. Puts a tremendous amount of stress on the shoulder and the snap of the elbow, the wrist. It all flows together.
He still does weight training in his preparation for Frisbee.
Yes, he weight trains for Frisbee, and I weight train for vanity, I think. Dave Dunipace is a 1981 distance champion. Fun story, Dave, quality guy, PhD clinical psychology major down in San Diego. He held the national record for one day at Albuquerque until Van took it away from him the next day, and then, of course, he took Van to the World Championships this year. Good, friendly rapport within the sport of Frisbee.
You're watching distance throwing in Frisbee, and coming up here on ESPN in just a few minutes will be the freestyle. And if you think these guys are talented the way they can fling this thing out, wait till you see the tricks they do in the freestyle competition.
On a given day, each one of these competitors can go ahead and beat the other ones. It appears right now that Joe Youngman appears to be leading with Van Miller second, John Kirkland third, and Dunipace needs to go ahead and get a good throw to come on up.
Okay, the crowd always looking for that long one out there, like that.
You can see why Dunipace is the reigning national champion. Even though this may be a demonstration, these competitors are going all out against one another. You can see that excellent extension in there by Dunipace. Fascinating personality, poet, writer, basketball player, Lynn, Frisbee player.
You can't be all bad.
He's got that ingredient as a background, huh?
Okay, there's some of the strongest distance thrower in Frisbee competition, and you've watched it here at the World Frisbee Championships at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California.